All right, Shalom. I want to start off as always by giving all praises and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, B'cha HaKodash. Double is unto the apostles, the elders, and the bishops of Good Millstone. I want to send much love to the brothers out there doing his work in truth and sincerity. And I also want to send peace and blessings unto the believers of the hopeful elect. And in tonight's lesson, I wanted to do a quick response unto this video here that was put up by the Wall Street Journal. Give my scriptures and then I'll close out, so this shouldn't be too long. But I just wanted to highlight this video, man, because it plays a part in biblical prophecy. And so I got to highlight it and I got to speak about it, right? Now, as you can see, the title of this video reads, "What it takes to build a modern nuclear shelter for 7K people or 7,000 people." Now, we know that eventually the War of Armageddon is going to take place. And during that war, nuclear missiles will be shot off. And guess what? A lot of parts of the world will be hit with nuclear missiles, man. But in particular, Babylon the Great. Now, this video here takes place inside of Finland, which is in Europe. Okay, which Europe going to be hit with missiles as well, but it's going to be built back up. But these people are anticipating nuclear war. And all around the world, you have people building nuclear shelters, nuclear fallout places, man, in case of a nuclear war. And so they built one here for 7,000 people to go into, right? As to preserve, 7,000 people. So I'm going to play this video here, man, and show you this bunker they're building is in vain. And even if these people, so-called, make it in these bunkers, they're going to be destroyed anyway, right? They're going to be destroyed anyway, go into captivity. Doesn't matter. When Yahweh get back, it doesn't matter what you have. Fallout shelters, doesn't matter. If you're of the wicked, you're going to get got. Plain and simple, okay? So let's get into the video here. This is fair use. I pray it is edifying, man.
This sports centre in Finland is hiding a secret. It may contain badminton courts, a boxing ring, and gym equipment, but it's also designed to keep 7,000 people safe in the event of a nuclear attack.
We have the basic radiation dose meter, iodine pills for radiation, safety equipment, gas masks.
This is Luola, Finnish for cave, a dual-use emergency shelter built into the bedrock of a cliff just 100 miles from Russia.
This is the largest modern shelter that is at least here in Finland, probably in the world as well.
Do you think people walk through and go, "Oh, I'm going into a civilian shelter"?
No, definitely not. I think they see it as a sport, so they don't really realize what's happening here.
As Russia's war with Ukraine threatens to spill over into Europe, bunker manufacturers from around the globe have been heading to Finland to learn the techniques used in its advanced network of 50,000 shelters.
My principal market is Mexico. All our technology is from Switzerland and Finland. In North America, we don't have the factories to this kind of equipment.
So just what does it take to build a modern bomb shelter?
Most of the people think shelters as bunkers, that it's reinforced concrete and then you go inside. And it is not that anymore.
The first line of defense starts with a set of blast doors, almost 8 inches thick to withstand blast loads.
You might not even notice them as you walk up towards the sports arena, but these are designed to be manually closed.
The doors are set back some 80 feet into the cave and positioned at an angle to the main entrance.
There's always a wall where the blast wave is supposed to hit first before it hits the doors. So the blast wave is reflected and thus lessened.
And the way the system knows that they're closed is using this sensor here, which tells people on the inside of the shelter whether the outer doors are sealed shut.
Even though the shelter is designed for 7,000 people, the doors can be operated by just one person. To one side lies these 2 blast valves.
which is used to prevent the blast waves from entering inside the shelter, but at the same time still allow airflow into the shelter. So once a blast wave hits, the valve closes and no blast wave enters into this area here.
Then further back, you have a second set of doors that are sealed from the inside.
Next to them lies 2 gas-tight valves, which can be completely sealed shut.
And that effectively turns this space into an airlock, meaning that anyone trying to come in from the outside can be decontaminated before safely being allowed into the rest of the shelter.
They need to remove their clothing, they are washed on this room, and then they are let in. That is the best case scenario. In a worst case scenario, you might not be able even to let them in if they are so contaminated.
But even if the gas-tight valves were left open, there's a clever way to prevent toxins from getting in. And for that, you have to go deep into the shelter.
Inside of the shelter, which we call the lungs of the shelter, is the filtration room, where we have the CBRN filtration system, which is called chemical, biological, radioactive, nuclear filters.
These filters, which we can't show you too much of for security reasons, stop toxic agents getting into the shelter's airstream. But they also serve to keep the shelter overpressured. And that means that if a valve is left open, or there's a hole in the door, then clean air will be pushed out rather than dirty air being sucked in. And there's a good reason why everything in this room is on springs.
We need to protect the sensitive equipment from the blast. So a blast wave hits, the ground shock comes, these units will shake, but everything still functions, even through the blast.
Then, hidden away in a small back room, lies all of the supplies for the shelter.
Why are there so many buckets in this room?
You need all the people inside the shelter, almost 7,000 people, they will need to have drinking water. All these buckets will be removed from the storage rooms, filled with water, and spread out equally so people can always have fresh drinking water.
So what else have we got in here? I'm just going to be straight up nosy now.
Vests, more gas.
Hey, looking at this video objectively, these Edomites are prepared, man. Okay, so to speak. But they don't know the power of the Lord. And that's going to be their mistake. You can prepare all this stuff, you know, it look good, it sound good, and they seem pretty much prepared for a nuclear fallout. But they don't understand that the Most High is going to truly, truly judge his world, man. It's going to be very bad, okay? See, they're just preparing for the fire that the nuke is going to bring. Yahweh shall bring a fire as well. It's going to be bad. Okay, it's going to be very, very bad. But let's say, you know, hypothetically, right? You have some Edomites in there, okay, a couple thousand Edomites in this nuclear shelter who make it. They're going to be reserved for slavery, for hardcore bondage, okay? They're going to be shooken up. All right, when the men of the Lord busting those shelters and you know, around them up. They're going to be shocked and appalled, okay? But these devils got everything, man. They're prepared for it, right?
Gas masks,
Batteries,
batteries,
duct tape.
We have beds in these. 3 people fit into this one. Some people are working, some people are resting, and some people are sleeping. Usually they set up in shifts like that.
And then there's these really indiscreet toilets.
These are separated by these sheets, and inside you can see that we have a simple bucket-style toilet.
In a crisis, all this needs to be unpacked and installed.
We have 72 hours, 3 days, basically, to transform this place into a properly working shelter. But in reality, it definitely happens faster than that.
Once it's all unpacked, it takes up a lot of space. But Finland has a method to decide exactly how big the shelter needs to be.
Can you tell me what this square is on the floor?
This is the basic space allocation for a single person inside the shelter. This is 0.75 square meters, and it comes from the Finnish regulations. So you do not need to have much space for yourself, because you can sit here, you can stand here, and it is enough space for a single person. When you are in a crisis time, you don't need to be comfortable because you are trying to survive.
Across Western Europe, nations have been reassessing their network of civil shelters, as military experts warn that Russia could be in a position to attack within years. While countries like Germany used to have thousands of shelters, Many have since been turned into galleries, apartments, and even solar power stations.
In Sweden, similarly like in Germany, they stopped building and upkeeping these shelters.
But restoring them won't be as simple as kicking out the current tenants.
That hideout isn't sufficient nowadays anymore. Those has not been kept up to date, and the technology also have developed. Nowadays we use sensors inside of the facilities. We have the filtration systems against chemical threats.
So to find out how modern shelters are built, some manufacturers are turning to countries like Finland, who never stopped building and kept their construction standards up to date. One of those people is Victor, Chief Operating Officer of Mexican shelter building company SB Global, who has come to Helsinki to see this shelter being constructed in the bedrock under a hospital.
Follow the leader. In our case, Mexico, our shelters are small for family, but the principles are the same. We need glass doors, we need airtight doors. Switzerland has public information for design shelters, and Finland too. And as an engineer, I can read that kind of standards and provide solution.
We are very openly sharing like the research that we have done into this. There is a growing interest, let's say, all the way from Far East Asia and Middle East, including.
All right, so you get the point pretty much, man. They're prepared for a nuclear fallout, and when all hell does truly break loose and these missiles get shot off, they will indeed go inside the holes in the rocks, right? They will go underground. Some may go in the sea, okay, to try and escape this nuclear fallout. And here in biblical prophecy, it tells us this, man. Here in Isaiah chapter 2, okay, starting at verse 10 on down, all right, the Most High pretty much addresses the wicked and the lofty of this world and what he's going to do to them, man. And here in verse 19, it says, and they shall go into the holes of the rocks and into the caves of the earth for fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth with the nuclear missiles. They're going to go into them bunkers, man, for protection, right? For safety. It says, in that day a man shall cast his idols of silver and his idols of gold, which they made each one for himself to worship, to the moles and to the bats, to go into the clefts of the rocks and into the tops of the ragged rocks, for fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty, when he arises to shake terribly the earth. So they're going to be terrified, man, afraid, and go into these bunkers in hopes that, hey, look, this is going to protect us from the power and judgment of the Most High. It's not. Now, granted, everybody won't die. We understand that according to the scriptures, but a lot of people will. These elites, a lot of them going to be reserved for judgment, for captivity, man. That's in the scripture also in Isaiah. In particular, Isaiah chapter 24, right? But we can see prophecy speaks about these underground bunkers and how they're going to try to go into them for fear of the Most High. But ultimately, it's going to be to their demise, man. So with that, I'll close out. I pray that it was edifying. I'll pray Yahweh Shai. Shalom.